Welcome to the WRAL Daily Download. I'm your host, Amanda Lamb. In today's deep dive conversation with WRAL's Five on Your Side producer, Pritchard Strong, we're talking about what happens when development negatively impacts the properties around it in the form of flooding in this case. Now, it happened to some families in Raleigh. Five on Your Side investigated this situation. Pritchard, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
So we hear it all the time. People fight against development in their neighborhoods for many, many reasons. I mean, everything from traffic to construction. They don't like the noise to, trash collection. And in this case, in this neighborhood, the subject of your report, there were some pretty good reasons for these people to be concerned. And it started when this area was clear cut of trees to make way for a new townhome development. Explain to us where this is and try to explain, if you can, what it looked like before and after.
Yeah, so this is kind of northeast Raleigh area, about a mile east of Capitol Boulevard off Perry Creek. And there's been some development there. This neighborhood kind of backed up to a wooded area. They had, no neighbors that they're going to see through the woods there. And Michelle Benamar is the neighbor that we've been talking to. She sent us some photos and videos of what it looked like before the cutting, clear cut that area. Wildlife, plenty of birds, deer, just kind of roaming and eating the backyard. Seemed like a pretty peaceful, quiet spot, pretty close to the city.
And there was a retaining pond there, correct?
Now that was part of what was put in during the development once those trees were clear cut.
Gotcha.
And that kind of started leading to some problems when they were draining it. They had built it up. They were doing some construction. It was full of water. They needed to drain it to do some work on it. So they used a flexible pipe to kind of, pump that water out. But they aimed the pipe directly at Benamar's house. So that water all flowed downhill into her backyard, flooded her yard, went around the house and out to the street into the stormwater system. And that happened twice.
Wow. And it got very close to her house, correct?
Really close to her house. Up on the concrete patio they've got on their back porch. She said it was within a couple inches of her neighbor's backyard, her neighbor's door, right next door. Not a ton of room for it to maneuver through those two homes. It was a lot of water that was coming through that area and getting really close to the houses.
And I think, we think of, again, a lot of things. There are a lot of reasons people are against development. But this is kind of a off the grid thought here that, oh, wow, well, the water has to go somewhere, right? There's no trees to drink the water. There's this retaining pond, and now we're in real trouble.
Yeah, and she said that she's been going to meetings on this from the beginning of the development, once it was proposed, community meetings that were nearby and voiced concerns and opinions on this, was reassured and then had this issue that started with the flooding in the backyard when that retaining pond was drained a couple of times, but it's continued and it's just kind of gone on. Once they drained that retaining pond, they installed a permanent pipe that was pointed directly at her house, a large pipe, 3-4 feet, that has also continued to flow water in her direction through her backyard and into the stormwater drainage out on her street.
And unfortunately, this is not the first time this has happened. We will be back after the break, and we're going to talk about the city's role in this fiasco. Welcome back to the WRAL Daily Download. So, Pritchard, when a development like this is, in the planning stages, the city has to sign off, which is what I assumed happened here. Mm-hmm. So what is Raleigh's stormwater program manager saying about the situation?
So he's saying that during construction is really the hardest time to control stormwater, but this company is in compliance with city regulations, and those come from state and federal guidelines. And from what I'm told, the city's regulations go above and beyond what's required as far as stormwater control measures go. But basically, the plan for development has to show that, they're not going to make peak stormwater flow worse when that development is complete. So, they had all of their control measures in place. Water was still getting through them. There is one piece left to be built. That's called a level spreader, which is supposed to take that water coming out of that finished permanent drain pipe and kind of spread it out over the area to lessen that flooding impact. And the hope is that's going to improve the situation once that's done.
Now, I know you did reach out to the developer. What are they saying about the situation?
Yeah, so since we started looking into this, they have been exploring two alternatives. So they were looking outside of the plan that they already had established. And basically, they were looking at one that included connecting to underground pipes that were established, creating an easement, and draining the water directly that way underground. The other one was rerouting it through Parks and Rec land. Neither of those worked out. They say they chose to stay the course, but they are going to try and accelerate construction of the rest of the stormwater control measures, but right now it's just not clear when that's going to be complete.
And I know you looked into whether or not this has happened before in other neighborhoods, and you did find out that it has happened, and it's also happened with this same developer.
It has. And my research found that a few years back in Wilmington, the exact same thing happened. You had established neighbors whose yards were being flooded after D.R. Horton clear-cut land and were in the building process. And then up in Wake Forest, there's a project on 98, Sienna Townhomes. That is actually complete. And neighbors that are up against that complex see a lot of stormwater runoff, a lot of flooding issues, and those have continued. And again, that's a completed project. So you can kind of see where Benamar in this case is a little skeptical that once it's all done, it's going to be fixed.
Absolutely. And I know there's an effort by someone on the Raleigh City Council to try to change the rules as they pertain to new construction to prevent this from happening in the future. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so this is in the district of Councilwoman Megan Patton, and we spoke with her. She also spoke with the homeowner. But basically, she's asking stormwater staff to see what kind of revisions could be made to the stormwater design manual to improve this, to keep this from happening to people in the future. Those revisions could come to council this fall. There's no guarantee on any of it, but they are at least taking a look at it, and they're already in the process of kind of exploring to see, what improvements could be made.
Just thinking out loud here, does Michelle and her family, do they have any options at this point? Have they had damage? I mean, can they get that fixed? Can they get some help financially?
It's tough because right now everything's been approved and everything's in compliance, right? But they have, when I was there the one day, it was the day after it had rained, and there was still a steady stream of water coming from that development through her yard down into the street, and the sun was out. So it's a tough situation. She is afraid that the foundation of her home is going to be compromised. It's at this point, though, because the contractor builder is in compliance, this is a private entity to homeowner issue that may end up having to be resolved in court. If there is damages, if it's just a inconvenience issue, then it'd be tough to know what they'd be able to do.
And anything that people can do going forward if they see construction beginning in their neighborhood or they know about it, should they be concerned about this?
I would say get involved. Go to those meetings, voice your concerns, have conversations. There can be things worked into those building plans to maybe help alleviate some of those fears and what people are worried about. But definitely get involved, document, keep track of everything that's going on and promises that may be made. But, just that's the best advice that we can give is to just be part of that process and make your voice heard early so that if you do have concerns, they can be addressed hopefully during that process.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much for filling us in on this. And I know 5 on Your Side is going to continue to follow this issue closely. Please take a minute and give us a 5-star rating in Apple Podcasts. Your rating and review will help other listeners find the show. We appreciate it. Thanks for listening.